Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt, and welcome back to Farlands or Bust. Woof? No woof. Welcome back to Farlands or Bust. Regardless, it is episode 404. 404, everybody. Everybody's waiting for the joke. The joke that they all expect to be had when anything is numbered 404 or 1337. Nerd jokes. Nerd jokes ahoy. But yes, it is episode 404 of Farlands or Bust. Today is Friday, September 12th, 2014. Let us secure the previous episode's hidey hole like that. Let's grab Wolfie and continue on. West. This way's west. In Minecraft Beta 1.7.3, still raising money for Child's Play charity at farlandsorbust.com. $12,045 is the amount we have raised during Season 5 here of Farlands or Bust. And you can continue giving at farlandsorbust.com. I think I kind of already mentioned that. But also, additionally, I should mention once again, I should pluggity-doo-dah, the Mindcrack Marathon 2014 happening tomorrow, Saturday the 13th, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Eastern Time, that is New York time, I suppose, if you want to specify, but it starts at 10 a.m., goes for 24 hours, over on Twitch TV/Mindcrack Network. This one is supporting Extra Life charity, which is part of the Children's Miracle Network, I believe, also associated with hospitals, children's hospitals and hospitals in America, I think Puerto Rico also, and places like that, but very cool stuff happening there, a lot of cool prizes, everything from Minecraft Lego toys, to autographed things, to the giant, expensive DX Racer gaming chairs and craziness just going on over there. Like I said, 24 hours of Mindcrack marathonness. Also a live ultra hardcore happening with a lot of guests. Guests like Ant Venom, Captain Sparkles, what's his name? The Swedish guy. Is it Robaz? Robaz? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't watch everybody's videos on YouTube, so I don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, and then more. And then more. So check that out. Excuse me. I unfortunately do not have a specified, slot. I haven't been able to sign up for or dedicate a time where I will be doing this, but I will be sure to be hanging out when I can, and there are a few moments where people will be live streaming from the vanilla Mindcrack server, so I will be sure to at least join them, maybe in the call, I assume, if they want, or elsewhere, so very, very cool stuff indeed. Hoping to raise, I think the weekend goal, the 24-hour goal, is $100,000, and they're up to about, even before it's begun, about 20, I think? 10 or 20, between 10 and 20? I think near 20, because there are some additional, if you go to the page, I'll link it in the doobly-doo, the description. There are incentives to donate in order to unlock certain people's live stream perspective on their own, simulcast channel for the UHC, which is pretty cool. A little twist of the donation incentives there, so check that out. I just wanted to, like I said, give a little bit of a boost, signal boost for the Mindcrack Marathon happening tomorrow. Of course, as we know, last year, the first Mindcrack Marathon was a little bit less organized, a little bit more hobbled together, but it still managed to raise in 48 hours of straight live streaming $118,000 for Child's Play charity, and actually got us over the hump. We were a little bit stalled out there with Farlands or Bust donations back in Season 4, and that went towards the Farlands or Bust totals and got us over that magic number we were looking for, and eventually led to the Flobathon of this past March. Wow, it's already been, jeez, it's crazy. And what's with the weather? What's with the weather, everybody? at least in the Midwest here, in Chicago, it was like the beginning of the month. It was like 90. It wasn't like low 90s. It was like hot and humid and gross. And now it's barely getting into the 50s. This is something I've noticed, a trend in the last handful of years, is we here in the Midwest and Chicago, whatever, we don't get the transitions. There's no blending from summer to summer to fall, summer to spring. Oh my god, the earth is spinning in the wrong direction. From summer to fall to winter to spring, we just go straight, just boom. We miss that whole nice weather area of going, from 90s and muggy. We miss all those, mid to low 80s, and we miss the 70s entirely, and just drop right down below into the 50s. It's crazy, and it's making my nose itch. I'm back, I'm alright. So, yeah, it's gross. It's gross, I say. It's all cloudy and cold and blah. Yeah, I swear, I just had, like, the air conditioning running on blast earlier this month. On blast mode. It actually blasts you away from the vents. That's the noise it makes. So that stinks. Speaking of weather... You're dead! Speaking of weather, I'm going to transition into space weather. There was a large X-class solar flare coronal mass ejection from the sun. Ooh. Pillar! Pillar. The floating pillar. Floating pillar. Floating pillar. That really doesn't, because pillar is kind of a weird word. It doesn't make for the good song making. Hold on, Wolfie. I'm trying to make a staircase here. There we go. But yeah, there was an X 1.9 flare. X is the tallest, the biggest as far as the flares are concerned. There it goes. It's like M is in between, like medium, and then X is the large. And X 1.6 on September 10th, 2 days ago, was detected and imaged and seen from all of our orbiting solar observing satellites, scientific satellites. And it is just now, like literally just as I speak, now starting to hit the Earth. Whoops. And it's a bit, an X flare, Earth directed, is a pretty big deal, but it's not just the size of the flare. It's like the way you measure an earthquake. It is a what's the word? It's a magnitude. Yeah, it's on orders of magnitude. But also, just like an earthquake, you can have like a Richter scale 7 earthquake, but depending on where it is, the depth into the crust depends on how much damage or how much you feel up on top, or if there's going to be a tsunami or not, or stuff like that. Same thing with the solar flares. This one, while it was an X 1.6, which is pretty huge, and could be entirely bad news, like I mentioned a couple weeks ago in a Far Lands Bust episode, there was one that was directed away from Earth, thankfully, that could have caused problems, but it also has to do with the speed at which it's traveling. The speed at which these solar winds emanate from within the sun can change once it actually reaches and then leaves the surface of the sun, and that, in this case, is what happened. It was going pretty fast, but then once it was measured to be leaving the surface of the sun, it slowed down only to about, like, a couple thousand kilometers per second. But yeah, it actually slowed down, so it's going to be pretty much a direct hit. But it's not going to be as if it was a direct hit from a high speed, high velocity CME, but it's still going to be a decent deal, and they already are forecasting, and all the little signals, if you go to spaceweather.com, all the little maps, and there's little, what are those things called, dials and levels to say how much activity there is happening in the magnetosphere, are already tipping the solar storm scale, so there will be, if you do live in the upper or lower latitudes, tonight and tomorrow night, high probability for the northern and southern, the aurora australis on the southern hemisphere and the aurora borealis up here in the northern hemisphere, even all the way down, if we're in North America talking here, down into Michigan, Wisconsin, possibly, you know, to get down here to Illinois in the Chicago area. Obviously, if you're in the Chicago area, you're never going to see northern lights just because of the light pollution, but to get down here it would be a pretty major deal, but it's, once again, it's something that's pretty unpredictable to say. So yeah, maybe on the horizon, if you're out in the cornfield a couple hours away from Chicago, you might be able to see a faint green or purplish hue, but definitely in the upper parts of Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, absolutely all of Canada, Alaska, obviously, Iceland, and places like that. No northern lights here, though, however, so we'll go to sleep and continue in the morning. And awakeness. Yeah, that is one of the things that is on the old bucket list. I have never seen... Oh, all right, I guess you're full up. I've never seen the northern lights. It is, you know, just to be able to, I've seen the videos, obviously, and the pictures and the time lapses. Seek out some videos. A lot of them are time lapses because generally, in order to capture them on a camera, you have to have a pretty wide aperture and then thus take or not a wide aperture, but a long exposure time. So a lot of the videos you see of the aurora dancing around are fast forward. They're time lapses. There are a few pretty cool videos, I'm not sure if they're on YouTube or Vimeo, that are just real time. And I was surprised even at how fast they moved real time, like if you're just sitting there looking at them. And some people say, in really strong ones, you can actually hear them too, like a very light fizz, like a sort of that, you know, like that sort of noise that they may hear. I'm not sure if there's much scientific validity behind that, or perhaps it's just your mind is fooling you into believing other noises like the wind or something like that is coming from the aurora. But yeah, that is on the old bucket list for Kurt. One of these days, I've seen a transit of Venus. I've seen very bright fireball meteors. I've seen all of the planets through a telescope. Yeah, I think I'm not sure if I've seen Mercury. Mercury's a tough one to see. But I think I've seen all of the planets. I did find Pluto. It looks like a very dim star. It's really not much to look at. But I also saw Vesta, the asteroid in the asteroid belt. It was very cool to see. But anyway, yeah, I'm just trying to go down the checklist of astronomical things that I've seen. Certainly a total solar eclipse is something I also would like to see. So total solar eclipse and the northern lights. They're on the list. What is this? Somebody playing UHC here? What's going on? Hello? Anybody home? Anybody down here? No? Okay, I'm glad. That would be really freaky if I did find a staircase. Excuse me, Wolfie, thank you. Interesting. Okay. Spooky noises. Beep. Oh, okay. Floating cobble tube of tuba-da-dude. Tuba-da-dude? Totally tubular, man. Totally tubular. Lastly here, before we get to Fan Friday, answering questions from donors to Child's Play charity, I wanted to, well, I don't really have anything to follow up about, but obviously the big topic in the last episode was the rumors that Microsoft could be buying Mojang. Of course, the makers of this very game we play, Minecraft. Those rumors were about. There have been additional things coming out saying that, oh, Notch is the one who actually contacted Microsoft, and as part of the deal, Notch will leave, which is totally what I would have assumed anyway. And you know, he seems like somebody who doesn't really want to be, never really wanted to be maybe like the owner of a business or his own studio. That's the reason he kind of left the big studio. Mojang is a big studio. But anyway, I'm just talking. I'm just going to stop right there. I just want to give a brief update. BOO talked about this in his last Mindcrack episode, but you see a lot of knee-jerk reactions about like, oh no, they're going to ruin Minecraft. Oh, I'm going to uninstall Minecraft if Microsoft buys them, and oh, remember what they did to this other company, and blah, 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 blah. Let's calm down, everybody. Keep your pants on. And we can't say. You can just sit there and speculate and be pessimistic about the whole thing, but you can't say what the terms of the deal are. You can't say what this, that, or the other. You can't even say if it's an actual true story that's going to be happening. So, you can't get all emo about it, something that hasn't happened yet. Especially, let's say Microsoft does indeed buy Mojang, and I really hope, I worried about this with the last video, I really hope in the time that I record, edit, upload, and then publish this video, some new news item doesn't come out, making this entire discussion completely pointless. Yeah, you can't say, let's say Microsoft does buy Mojang, you can't instantly then assume all these bad things are going to happen. So, yeah, when you assume, you make an arse out of myself and everyone else, as they say. As they say. Ooh, very nice. Very nice little opening here. Cave. So yeah, I'm far out. Like I said, the first news of it, I was kind of like, what? The Mo from The Simpsons kind of shock and alarm and surprise, but. And I'm like, well, it makes sense. I could see good and bad sides to it, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens before we start busting out our pitchforks and, grabbing our survival suits. Nothing has happened yet. Everybody calm down, just continue on with your daily lives. But yeah, we are going to answer some questions today. It's Friday, and well, every day is Fan Friday. What? Every day is Fan Day here on Far Lands or Bust, where I answer questions from people who donate to Child's Play charity at farlandsorbust.com. And today we have a few cool questions. Well, I have a bunch of questions actually, but today we'll get to a few questions. The first from Jaws. I keep wanting to say Jaways. And he keeps correcting me with his donations. It's Jaws. It's just spelled Jaws. Jaws. Like Wolfie there. Sorry. John Williams, everybody. Thank you for coming to Far Lands or Bust. That's whenever John Williams is a guest on a radio show or a talk show, he just responds to answers with the full orchestra. But Jaws asks, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. I have decided to donate to promote awareness. Would you take a few minutes to discuss ALS and why awareness and donations are important? Well, I, first of all, suppose I should address the fact that I did not participate in the Ice Bucket Challenge, even though a few people nominated me. And it's not because I don't support the cause. It's obviously ALS, the disease, as they've shown, has had its funding cut for research and finding cures and science and treatment by the government. It's kind of one of those forgotten charities, one of those forgotten diseases that is actually quite harmful to those who have it, and obviously it affects the families and is something that is not really 100% understood. Could be genetics, I believe, but I'm going to stop talking because I'm not sure specifically the details behind it. But I want to say it I didn't participate. You all know that I'm not a huge fan. I have nothing against anybody who does, but I'm not a huge fan of the stunt-based, charity-driven fundraisers. Both stunt-based, like, oh, pour a bucket of ice on your head, or furthermore, you know, like, oh, if we raise this amount, then I'll do the cinnamon challenge, or you know, I'll eat something weird and gross. I'm not a huge fan of that. That's probably why in the last season my donations stalled out, because I kind of based it around the percentage milestones, where I would do something new and interesting for each percent of milestone. That just got too much for me, and it also just became, I felt like grasping at straws. I'm a little bit more about the donating for the sake of donating for a cause. Saying that, however, this ice bucket challenge, the person who came up with it? Somebody like of importance came up with it. Great, like a great idea, as far as, like, I'm looking at it from like a marketing and social media standpoint. I mean, think about it. Ice bucket challenge. It's a simple thing. It's not complicated. It's not do a trick on your bike. You don't have to have you know, you don't have to have any special equipment. Pretty much everybody who would be capable of donating probably has a bucket, probably has access to an amount of ice and water, and being as it goes through social media, they probably have a camera capable of recording them doing such things as these. So it's a pretty excellent and well constructed as far as the awareness, and you know, they knew ahead of time that this would have the potential to go, as they say, viral. And, you know, and then obviously getting celebrities behind it. And, you know, I kind of feel like a lot of it is then, you know, celebrities, like the big celebrities. I'm not talking like YouTube celebrities or anything, but like, you know, the big ones who all did it, your sports people, and, you know, entire sports teams doing the ice bucket challenge, or, you know, a whole bunch of people did the ice bucket, you know, very famous people. Hold on, I'll continue talking in the morning, and we'll continue on. And ice bucket challengeness. So I almost feel like, whoa, and perhaps I'm looking too far into it, but a little bit of the fact that it's kind of an interesting thing to see these big celebrities who, before social media, really were never connected with their fans. Kind of a way for them to connect with each other. So you saw certain celebrities challenging other big celebrities who they may or may not have been friends with already, and responding to that. So it felt a little bit like a social experiment in that regard, that you know, these celebrities, you know, in the videos they put up, most of them weren't produced. They were recorded probably on their own cell phones or whatever, and you know, they got to be creative with the ways they did it. So, you know, that was all good, and I definitely applaud the thought that went behind putting this ice bucket challenge together. Another aspect of it I wasn't a huge fan of was the kind of the challenge aspect. I never felt this way from the few people who included me as the people who they nominate, but the kind of forced inclusion, I suppose. Again, I want people to donate to a cause, to a charity, because they want to, not because they'll get something out of it, or because XYZ is kind of just my overall mantra. Right or wrong, it's just the way I personally work. So yeah, I didn't feel like, oh, and if you don't, then you are shamed. I never really felt shamed. I got a few comments from people who had a slight air of shame for not doing this or donating. So yeah, there was that aspect of it, as either you do the ice bucket challenge or you have to donate $100. You know, that's a little bit forceful, but you know, I'm certainly not somebody who's going to be criticizing it, saying that it's the drought, the water shortage. Think about all the people in Africa who don't have water, clean water, and you're just dumping on, blah, blah. You know, there was a lot of pretty ridiculous negativity towards the Ice Bucket Challenge. No, I'm not really myself throwing myself into that camp. I definitely... Is that Wolfie? No, that's not Wolfie. Who are you? Who are you, good sir? There's Wolfie. Wolfie? Dun. Okay, go get Wolfie. No? Nothing? Okay. Speak to him. Send him my way. Wolfie? Episode 404, Wolfie not found. Oh, there he is. All right, how you doing, guy? Got a lot of weird oceans. Oh, I have way too much wool. Weird oceans here. So yeah, I mean that's the only. You know, I just didn't feel like participating in it right off the bat, and so yeah, I thought it was great. And again, like I said, this is both a charity and a cause and a disease in particular that hasn't gotten any airtime and much help until this. So yeah, there's always good to have you know, these activism and surges of actual, instead of just turning your avatar a certain color, this, that, or the other, this actually, hopefully, the majority of people hopefully donated, and it shows by the large amount of donations that the ALS Association received thanks to this. So yeah, it was a cool thing, and definitely a good lesson to be learned about. I hesitate to say marketability because they're not really like selling a product or anything like that, but the marketability, I say, of this sort of charitable giving and a fundraiser and a cause is definitely, you know, this is if you want to do something like this, you have to make it easy, accessible, easy to share, become a social activity, fun. You know, it's not like you have to pierce your nose or like something incredibly painful or you know, something that people are going to like cringe at. It's like, oh, okay, you got a little bit wet and you're kind of cold, so blah. But yeah, continuing on here, as the garage door opens behind us, I kind of worry sometimes when I call out the garage door that they're going to hear me talking about the garage door. But if I can hear the garage door, it's quite possible they can hear me. Everybody, hello! Welcome home, neighbors. Welcome home. I haven't burnt down the place yet, so yay for not burning the place down. Let's go to... Oh, we got a whole bunch of series of related stuff here. Roz is going to be visiting Chicago in a few weeks, I think he said. And he says, what's the city, Chicago, like? What can I expect? Well, you can expect no seasons. It's either going to be 90 degrees and swelteringly humid and disgusting, or it is going to be a cloudy and crummy and windy 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're never going to know whether to wear a sweater or a raincoat or a t-shirt or anything like that. That's about the range of weather we get. What is the shitty... the city, I said. What's the city? See, I said it with a crazy old person accent. What's the city like? The city is... I'm not a fan of the city, to be honest. The concrete jungle... you know, I suppose the skyline is picturesque from a distance, but from within it, it can be, at least to me, rather claustrophobic. That is what's the word I'm looking for? Increased by the fact that a lot of the buildings are old and their facades are crumbling. So a lot of the buildings and the sidewalks downtown, when you're among the buildings, are actually covered with scaffolding so that the pieces of marble and mortar don't fall and kill somebody on the sidewalk. You know, it just seems like it's in a constant state of either construction or disrepair, but it's neither. They're just putting coverings over the sidewalks so that they don't have any liabilities on their hands. So, I mean, there's that aspect to it. There is, yeah, the little bit claustrophobic to me, with all those tall buildings and the shadows and stuff like that. And then you get out to kind of the Grant Park area. I mean, for a tourist, I suppose if you're just spending a week or two here, you know, explore the city, explore the surrounding area around the city too. Don't just get stuck in the city. You know, for that, I suppose it's tolerable, but for every day, I have just living have grown wary of it. And there are plenty of people who absolutely love the city lifestyle. You know, they know New York is my home. I heart NY, or they feel the same way about Chicago and the food and the culture and the blah 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 blah. But I just it's not fun times for old KurtJMac. Obviously, you want to see the museums. You know, there's pretty famous stuff. The art museum has a lot of famous works of art, and the Field Museum has obviously the big Sue, the T-Rex, and a bunch of other cool stuff at the Field Museum. The Museum of Science and Industry has a lot of neat stuff. It's got a space wing, which is unfortunately the last couple times I went has, to the best of my knowledge, shrunk a bit. But they have actually the Apollo 8 capsule, which, if you are familiar with your space flight, is the first spacecraft to carry humans to the moon and back. Jim Lovell was the commander of that mission. It was the first full Saturn V mission, the first time humans have ever left the bonds of Earth and set out, and they orbited the moon for the first time and then came back. And that was obviously also when there was the very famous Earthrise picture. You know, they were the first people, the first humans to see the planet Earth as an entire disk, that they said they could put their thumbs up and cover up the entire Earth behind their thumbs. And, you know, there was the... Go, Wolfie! Oh, gosh. Speaking of Wolfie not found. No, up here. Right here. I'm gonna feed! Feed! There we go. So yeah, that's a pretty amazing thing that we here in Chicago, for whatever reason, have the Apollo 8 capsule. And there's also there's a Mercury capsule up there, over there. There's one of the training lunar landers, a full-size lunar lander to see, and, you know, cool stuff like that. They've also got the U-505, the German U-boat is there. I like the Science Museum. The Science Museum is pretty cool. What other stuff we got? We got the pizza, the Illuminati's pizza. I would recommend, if you're gonna get some pizza, get the pan pizza. Careful what you order. If you say deep dish, you'll get like the actual deep dish, which is a little bit more of a Giordano's thing. But with Illuminati's, you get the pan pizza, is technically their deep dish, and if you want to go all nuts and really clog up your arteries, get the butter crust, which I cannot have anymore. They do have gluten-free crust, though, which is actually pretty dang good. That's what I would recommend. I mean, places like I said, like Navy Pier and the Grant Park now are a little bit tourist trappy, and while they can be a little bit of an escape from the urban jungle, the urban canyons, a little bit less claustrophobic. They just feel a little bit manufactured to me, so I tend to avoid those places as well. But yeah, I mean, it's all right. I'm pretty sure I would have even less of an enjoyable time in New York, to be honest. I have not been since I was little. So I don't know, but yeah, it's a city. It's a city. It takes an hour to get anywhere, not because of distance, but because of traffic, at least. So keep that in mind. Lincoln Park Zoo is pretty good if you want to see a zoo. It's free. It's still free, right? Well, less parking. And yeah, Lincoln Park Zoo is pretty awesome. Brookfield Zoo is a little bit further out from the city, but Brookfield is showing its age. I feel it is anyway, and it is getting a little bit, to me, a little bit tourist trappy, I think. Honestly, the aquarium, not a fan of. It feels less like a place for education and awareness, and more like an amusement park lately. what with what they charge to get in and all that stuff. But yeah, you know, look up the restaurants. You know, do the thing where you go up on the Sears Tower and stand in the cube that's hanging how many hundreds of feet above the air. I am trapped in a glass case of emotion. Do that thing. I'm gonna need to get some wooden planks in the next episode. Good thing I have a couple axes on me. Switch. Why do you not switch? That is not something that apparently happens in this version of the game. All my tools are breaking apart. Let's remedy that. Beep, pop up, beep. I know, Wolfie. I know. We're wrapping it up here. I'm just giving Roz some final advice about Chicago. Yeah. I think that's about it. I think that's about it indeed. And I'm all set. All set for episode 404 of Far Lines of Bus. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time for 24 hours, Mindcrack Marathon 2014 for Extra Life Charities. Check it out. Be there or be like a Minecraft cube. That rhymed. In my head it did. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. My name is Kurt. I will see you next time. Doodaloo, doodaloo, doodaloo.